The old schoolhouse groaned as a thick fog rolled in, blanketing everything in a damp chill. It was the kind of fog that seemed to seep into your bones.
Huddling deeper into her threadbare sweater. I wish I hadn't forgotten my scarf this morning.
Riley Moore glanced out the window, her reflection staring back, pale and lost in the swirling grey.
Whispering in her ear, "Bleak."
Riley jumped, her heart doing a nervous tap dance against her ribs. It was just Ty Briggs, her best friend, his face contorted in a dramatic frown.
Hissing playfully. You scared the life out of me.
Scared? Nah, you love my spooky entrances.
Ty grinned, flashing a mischievous glint in his eyes.
Besides, it's the perfect atmosphere for our new sub. Mr. Vale, they call him. Heard he eats detention slips for breakfast.
Snorting, you made that up.
Ty just shrugged, his smile widening, but Riley couldn't shake the feeling that a shiver had just crawled down her spine. The fog outside seemed to thicken, pressing against the windows as if trying to get in. Riley felt a strange sensation, like eyes were watching her from the mist.
Shaking her head. It's just the fog playing tricks on me.
She glanced at the clock, willing the minutes to pass faster. The anticipation of meeting the new substitute teacher was gnawing at her.
With a mysterious smile. You'll see, Riley. Mr. Vale is different.
Riley's unease grew. There was something in Ty's voice that made her skin prickle with goosebumps.
Trying to be brave. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough.
With a determined look, Riley walked towards the classroom, the fog swirling around her like a living entity.
With an eerie smile. Welcome to the unknown, Riley.
As she entered the classroom, the fog seemed to follow, wrapping the room in its cold embrace. The unknown awaited. Mr. Vale glided into the classroom, his movements as silent and unsettling as the fog outside. The room seemed to hold its breath as he entered, every eye fixed on his eerie presence. He was tall and thin, with slicked-back black hair and eyes that seemed to bore into you, like they were reading your every thought. His gaze was so intense it felt like he could see right through you. He wore a tight smile that didn't quite reach those intense eyes. It was a smile that seemed to hide something sinister, something that made the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
In a deep, low rumble. "Good morning, class." His voice was a deep, low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the room, adding to the unsettling atmosphere.
Riley felt a prickle of unease. She wasn't alone. The entire class seemed to share her discomfort, a collective sense of dread hanging in the air. Whispers rippled through the room as students exchanged nervous glances. This substitute was definitely different. There was something about him that set him apart, something that made everyone uneasy.
Sharp as a whip crack. "All right, everyone open your textbooks." His command was sharp like a whip crack, snapping everyone to attention.
Riley opened her book, but her gaze kept drifting back to the front of the room. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Mr. Vale seemed to emanate an odd energy, a strange aura that made her skin crawl. It was as if he was surrounded by an invisible force field of unease. It was as if a cold draft had settled over the classroom, chilling her to the bone. The temperature seemed to drop whenever he was near, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, each second dragging on as the students waited for the class to end. Time seemed to stretch in Mr. Vale's presence, making every moment feel like an eternity. Some students tried to distract themselves by doodling or glancing nervously at their textbooks, but it was impossible to ignore the unsettling presence at the front of the room. Mr. Vale's shadow seemed to loom larger than it should, casting a dark aura over the classroom. It was as if he brought the darkness with him, a shadow that couldn't be escaped. Days turned into a week, and the fog lingered, clinging to the small town like a shroud. The strange events started subtly at first. It began with Jennifer Miller, the head cheerleader, forgetting her own name during roll call. Then it was Mark, the star quarterback, who swore he'd never played football in his life. Riley's sketchbook became her refuge. She drew her classmates, capturing their fading memories on paper. But as each student acted stranger, their faces in her drawings grew fainter, details blurring as if being erased. Whispering one afternoon, "See, I told you something was off." Ty's voice was hushed as they huddled over Riley's latest sketch. It was of their classmate, Sarah, her once vibrant smile now a smudged blur.
Shivering. This wasn't just forgetfulness. Something was stealing their memories, their very identities, and she had a sinking feeling that Mr. Vale was somehow responsible. The town clock struck midnight, and the fog seemed to thicken. Everyone felt a chill as if the fog was alive, watching them. Riley peered out her window, trying to see through the dense mist. She thought she saw a shadowy figure moving, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. The next day, the group gathered to discuss what they had seen. They decided to uncover the truth behind the fog and the vanishing faces. That night, armed with flashlights, they ventured into the fog, determined to find answers. They discovered a hidden path that seemed to lead deeper into the unknown. With a mix of fear and determination, they pressed on, knowing there was no turning back.
Riley and Ty decided to play detective. They snuck into Mr. Vale's classroom after school, the room eerily silent and empty. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through the fog-choked windows.
Whispering while rifling through Mr. Vale's desk drawers. Find anything? Maybe he has a secret stash of detention slips turned into origami cranes.
Riley ignored his attempt at humour. She was examining a peculiar book she'd found tucked away on a shelf. It was ancient, bound in cracked leather, the pages filled with strange symbols and cryptic writing.
Peering over her shoulder. This is weird, even for you, Riles. What language is that?
Riley traced the symbols with her finger, a cold dread creeping up her spine. She recognized them from her grandmother's stories, tales whispered around crackling fires about forgotten magic and things best left undisturbed. The more she flipped through the pages, the more she felt an unsettling connection to the book. Ty glanced nervously at the door, half expecting Mr. Vale to burst in at any moment.
Whispering, "We should get out of here, Riles. This place gives me the creeps."
Reluctantly, Riley closed the book and slipped it into her bag. They sneaked out of the classroom, hearts pounding, the mystery deepening with every step they took.